Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start with myself here. So let's go right there. I haven't done this for a while. So hi there, I'm Birgit O'Connor and welcome to my studio. And today I have a guest that I'm really excited to share with everyone. My it's my student Gloria Andison. Did I say that correctly,
You did.
Gloria? And you've also been a member of mine for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and bring you right in here and introduce you to everybody. So, hi, Gloria. How are you?
Hey.
And why we're having Gloria today as a guest is because right now we have all those incredible solar storms going off and northern lights. And Gloria, you do such an incredible job with the painting the northern lights that I thought it would be wonderful to share that information with everybody. So why don't you tell us where you're coming from and what drew you to watercolor?
Okay. Thank you for having me here. This is
Oh,
really exciting, actually. I'm from Whitehorse, Yukon, Canada, and we're still in the middle of winter up here. Tons of snow, the most snow we've had since 1947, apparently.
oh, wow.
And lots of the Northern Lights have been very active this year and just absolutely incredibly beautiful. So there's so many people taking photos out there every night, like just soaking it in, and they are fascinating. So it's something I've always wanted to do. I've worked on trying to get them to move the way I want them to move for a long time. Um, yeah, I've been with Birgit since 2019, I believe.
Wow, it's been a while. Yeah,
Yeah, it was just when COVID was starting, and I was looking for something. I mean, I've created all my life, but I was looking for something a little different, and I came across one of your videos in the the
Arts
network,
Network. Yeah,
and I just fell in love with the floral, and it's something I've always been interested in because flowers are my thing.
right.
But it just I haven't looked back. That's the beginning of my journey with you.
Well, thank you. And I've loved having you here, and I really love what you end up doing with it. And what's interesting about when it comes to a landscape or a floral, it really is the same. And the way I treat it is basically the same thing. It all has to do with the water to color ratio and moving it around. And like if we look behind me here, these are actually, my landscapes used to be very tight and little, and then until I could master them, then I slowly got bigger and bigger, and then going into florals, and then I didn't think I would look back into landscapes again until I realized to treat the landscape like a flower. You know, the sky is basically like a flower petal. It depends on how you move the water and color around. And what I love about yours is that you, for one, you're doing night scenes and you're capturing the movement of the northern lights. And actually, I think before we actually get into more of a conversation about it, let's show everybody what we have here. These two are a couple of your acrylic paintings, I believe. Let me, oops, I have to move a couple things over. And, just like everything. It's hidden from me. I don't even see it on my screen. I want to show the step-by-step process of what you do too.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So for one, this just is incredible. This is an acrylic, right?
Yes.
But what's interesting is that you were able to convey what you do in acrylic over to watercolor, which is incredible. We're going to look at that in a second, and that you captured the essence of this. I've never seen the Northern Lights, so that's why I'm incredibly excited about this. again here too, like if I'm thinking about this just as an artist, I would think that you would be I cannot do acrylics. I end up wearing acrylics. It'll end up all over my studio and upside down, and I just make a giant mess. So I'm impressed. And then you used a brush to soften areas out. Is that correct?
Not on the Northern Lights.
Oh, really? What do you do?
No, I use an airbrush
Oh, interesting.
for my skies with acrylics. I always use an airbrush.
And
Um,
go ahead.
in order to get them to move and to get that wispy look, you can't do that with a brush with
Oh,
acrylics.
oh,
It's impossible.
well,
I've
that's
tried every which way and it just does not work. Um, the airbrush, once you get the hang of working it properly and smoothly, I've done it with inks and with acrylic paints. And you can use um, you can use a template if you want like that curved look.
oops. Oh,
And
okay.
that fascinates everybody.
Oh, yes.
Just I just cut out a template out of a piece of paper and lay that down and do a light airbrush over top of that to get my form.
Hmm.
Then with an airbrush, you're able to go back in and get that soft look without it having these hard lines.
So now, what, how did you decide that you were going to translate that over into watercolor? What drew you to watercolor?
I just I love working with watercolor. I love the way the water moves, the color moves. It's taken me a long time to get the proper amount of water in there, but
Yeah.
I, with the Northern Lights part of it, it watercolor can give me that see-through look
Yes. Hmm.
without worrying about moving a brush. You don't want to get your brush in there when you're moving the water around for Northern Lights. Um, but it gives me that see-through look. And if I want to put stars or something in, I can just do a little bit of splatter on top once it's done. It still gives that see-through, wispy, transparent look. And while acrylic can be beautiful,
Hmm.
to me it looks it's stiff compared to the watercolor look.
I agree. I agree. What I'm
Yeah.
looking at is, so let's look at your, because I was trying to think, what do I want to look at first? What you started with also was painting on plates. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And, and you said the color kind of soaked into the clay.
It did, yes. I ran a ceramic business for a few years when I was here, and I used to like it wasn't the hand mold stuff, it was like pouring molds and firing them in the kiln and then painting the fired molds, and also glazing. So you know you can get different effects with different kinds of paints, but to actually to start painting with a brush, that was where I first started painting with a brush, was
Hmm.
on clay, and it just sucked it up. It didn't like there was no life to it. It just sort of sat there, and so I did that for 5 years, and I thought, you know, I want a little bit more out of my art than that. So, not that I'm disparaging that. I learned a lot from it, but it I stopped doing that. Went to college, went to work, did all my thing, and then just tried to fit some acrylic painting, learning acrylic painting into that. So it was sporadic in between.
It almost sounds like working on with the clay sounds like working on a soft pressed paper or a paper that the sizing has deteriorated on and it just soaks right in and
Exactly.
can't get the results that you want. So
Yeah,
that
that's a really good analogy. Yeah.
well, it all goes back to watercolor. And that's what I love. So before we continue here, I'm going to show everybody your website and I'm going to also I think we don't really have a chat going on, so I can't put it there, but I'll put it in the description of where, of how to reach you. So this
Okay.
is your studio, and also what you're really known for also are your flowers, right?
Yeah.
We're going to look at that in just a second too. This is a great picture of your studio here. What wonderful light. I love that. And we get to see more of your other paintings, more landscapes. And it's wonderful that I have a chance to actually just visit with you for a while here and have a discussion. I was so excited with what you're doing. So also with this too, you're doing the little the Northern Lights on a panel. Is that right? Because you have your fabrics, right? Custom fabric images, which I think is really great. And did you also mention that you're up there on White Horse up in the
Yes,
Yukon? Okay, I wanted to make sure there because I know that. And I just want to make sure that that gets out there. So this is your one of your local Columbines, right?
yes.
And what I am amazed with this also is how you handle all that space around that. And like, I know this is not Northern Lights that I'm talking about, but it's the technique. And which is fascinating here, that this is the little delicate flower, and you've got all that space around that, which is a big void, and you handled that so beautifully. And so you sell your panels, and then people make like quilts and things out of them. Is that right?
Yes, I have a store in Whitehorse in my town, a quilt shop, and they carry all of my fabrics. I don't sew. I have no idea what I'm talking about with sewing, other than they buy meters of. They have 12 different of my images that they work with, and they cut panels and different sizes, and they sell them, and they teach classes in quilting and wall hangings and pillows and all of that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it's done really well. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's not something that I'd ever thought about. It was just something I figured that I would ask about because somebody else mentioned it.
Well,
And
I was impressed. And so that's why I love the idea of people being able to take their artwork and putting it onto a panel and then also using that because I'm not a sewer and using that for whatever products like a purse or whatever fabric they want to do. But I want to come back into the Northern Lights in just a second. But I did want people to see what you do first before we go into this. And while I'm looking at this, you have bags and things like that. And you also were talking about that you have now another kind of a purse, right? Or a bag. Is
yes,
that right?
it's a tote bag, but it's vegan leather,
Hmm.
and I can hold it up if you like.
Let's do that in a little bit. Let's stay
Okay.
focused on this. And
Um, yeah, they are, yeah, it's just something different. And I was curious and I wanted to see what a print would look like on leather. And
that is
I was really excited when I opened it up. So I thought, okay, I'm going to put it out there. And I
well.
will just put something out saying with Northern Lights, flowers, whatever.
Are the Northern Lights on the bag, or is it
They're not on this particular sample one, but I do have some coming in at the end of the week that do have Northern Lights on them, yes.
okay? Well, then people can go ahead and contact you. And let's see, why don't you say the name of your website again, and I'll show that up here. And then we're going to go into taking a look at. Let me find if I have it right here. Where did I put it? Why don't you just say the name of your website? Oh, here it is, right there. And because I want to look at the step-by-step process of how you do this, and I want to find out more about everything. So why don't you say the name of your website?
Okay, it's glowsartimages.com.
Okay, that sounds great, and that would be a wonderful way for people to contact you. And then let's take a look at the process of what you do. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great, sure.
Okay, let's take a look. So what's fascinating about all of this is using the amount of water, which a lot of people don't realize, because if you don't use enough water, then everything sticks, right? So I'm going to get a few pages, some pictures out of the way so I can see my desktop. There we go, right up here. All right, so first of all, tell me about your puddles here.
Okay, so I have a puddle of azo yellow. These are Winsor Newton colors that I'm using. Quinacridone magenta, Windsor blue red shade and a little bit of indigo mixed in with it. And there's some permanent sap green there that I just use to add bits and pieces of it to the yellow so that I just do my mix with that. The blues, I change that out. Sometimes I use indanthrone. Um, it just depends on what I'm looking for. Um,
And I
yeah,
think you
and
mentioned that you're using that azo yellow for a particular reason.
mhm. I love watching that. Azo yellow has a tendency to explode on really wet surface, and it's just fun to watch. And when it mixes on the paper next to that blue, it sometimes makes a kind of a lacy look. It's just fascinating. It's I
Well, I
mean,
have
I
some
could
other step-by-step things down here that we're going to look at in just a second, but I wanted to kind of go into the colors like what you're saying. And so you found that to be the best yellow for you.
for certain things, yes. Sometimes I use Hansa yellow medium.
Hmm.
Um, but again, it's mixed just with tiny bits of green. I like to let my colors mix on the paper rather than in my palette.
And one thing that we were just talking about is that we were looking at a picture of, I'm going to come back into this for a second and just talk you and me here. So, like some of the pictures that I've been seeing are red and yellow northern lights, but in general, they're usually more green-like. Isn't that correct? Yeah.
Yes, green is a predominant color.
Hmm.
Sometimes we'll get some wonderful shows that have quite a bit of red in them and some purple.
Oh, purple.
Um, Depending on the amount of light that's going through, there can be white streaks.
Hmm.
The blues can vary in shade between light and dark, dark, dark. It all depends. There's no static. Northern lights are moving all the time.
Hmm.
They're gossamer, like they're so see-through. They give me the chills when I look at them. It just, you feel so small when you look at something like that that's so vast. It's wow.
Well, see, I can't even imagine what that's like. I go, oh, maybe I can imagine it, but I can't. That's what's so fascinating to me. So let's go back to this. So when it comes to the colors that you're using, so you're using the Winsor Blue red shade and a little bit of an indigo and an andanthrone blue. So those seem like wonderful colors, and the permanent sap green seems like it'd be wonderful. Have you ever thought like the quinacridone pink or anything like that? I've been
No.
just experimenting a little bit with that.
Uh, Quinacridone pink, no, it just gives the wrong shade. It
Mhm.
doesn't work. However, quinacridone red does.
Mhm. Oh,
I've used that. Actually, I use that a little bit more than I do the magenta.
oh, interesting. Well,
It's
and it's also interesting. Are you using the Windsor and Newton quinacridone magenta or
absolutely,
okay? Because like I prefer that one over many other brands.
yeah.
And but what's interesting is like I think it was I don't know if it was for the upcoming Plumeria workshop that I was doing the quinacridone pink from a Daniel Smith brand, and I liked that actually. Because I'm so loyal to that quinacridone magenta. It was nice to see what we could do. Anyway, let's take a look at the amount of water on the surface. So this is a great shot of the color that you have, and I really like, which I don't really think about, is having the paper towels on the back side of it because I use so much water, and that's a great idea. So to do that.
Yeah, it just helps to sop it up. And when I paint, whether it's watercolor or acrylic, I make a terrible mess. I always do, but that's just the way it is.
Well, in our last workshop that we just had on the atmospheric landscapes, a couple ladies ended up, I thought, I never think about this and I have to think about it now, is that yes, it can make a mess and to have a drop cloth underneath your table, but this is a great a thought right here to put the paper towels or one of those little potty pads around it or something
Mhm.
like that. That would be great.
Yeah.
So here you're using that ample amount of water and then you're coming in with the yellow. So tell me about this. What size brush are you using?
On that, I was using my number 30.
Oh, to apply the color?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I
So
need something large and soft
that
that isn't going to, I don't really like to have the brush tip on the paper any more than I absolutely have to.
that's
So I
mhm.
use the number 30, or another way of doing it is with a eyedropper.
Uh-huh.
You can get like fill it right up and then just sort of drop it in different patterns, leaving some white in between. Just whatever way works for you. I've also poured it.
Well,
Just put my color in a cup and poured it. The color is quite diluted when you do that, of course, so it takes a few more coats.
mhm. Well, what's interesting about that is in general, I don't use my 30 to apply color usually. I
Mhm.
usually use it just for water. So for you to use the 30 on that is interesting to me. And I was thinking about an eyedropper. I've never used an eyedropper to apply color like that, but if you don't want to disturb the surface,
Yeah.
that would be excellent.
You just
So,
have to be careful that it doesn't get water bubbles in it.
oh,
You, you
what?
know, sometimes you can get bubbles.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And it doesn't usually, but it can. So, but yeah, I wouldn't use my number 30 to apply color either. Usually it's a 20 blend or a 14 blend, but for this it works.
Right. It's nice, for anybody that's just starting out, a lot of times they don't understand. You want a range of brush sizes. You don't necessarily just one brush doesn't do everything for you. Whether or not it's plein air painting or in the studio, you need a range of brushes. Otherwise, your brush strokes all going to look the same. So here you come in with a little bit, that's actually more permanent sap green than I would think that you would be using. So tell me about.
That's okay. This particular one, I wanted more green in it
Uh-huh.
than yellow.
Uh-huh.
So I used straight permanent sap green in those places. Normally I wouldn't.
hmm
But I've got quite a bit of yellow in this. And remember, this is really wet.
Right.
So I've just basically put those colors in as carefully as I could. And with the paper being wet, now as soon as I finished putting that on and taking this picture, I was picking that paper up and moving it all over the place. Um, Up and down, sideways, whichever, to get rid of those little
Feather.
marks that happen, as you've shown us. And yeah, it, once I'm satisfied with where I've gone with that green and the yellow, I've still got, and you'll notice there's still white spots in there.
Which I
Then
love.
I'll start with my either putting a tiny bit of red or I'll go right into my blue.
So when you're doing this, do you find that you're freaking out at all, or you've gotten beyond that, or are you holding your breath? Because if anybody who's just starting out looking at this is going to be, they're not going to understand that we have a beginning, we have to evolve and create our foundation, and then it develops into a painting. So,
I hold my breath, I grind my teeth, clench my jaw.
oh, okay. I got it.
What I've learned to do is when I'm doing Northern Lights, because it involves so much color and everything, I'll put maybe 6 sheets of paper down and I'll start working
Or
on
6 layers, 6 sheets?
6 sheets of paper
Oh, okay.
and I'll wet 2 down really, really well.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll start working on it. And it's because when you're this stuff goes really fast. Once you're putting that stuff in, you get it moving around, it goes fast. So you want to be able to move on to something else and just keep coming back and forth.
Hmm.
I've learned that that is the most effective way for me to work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I always, always, for anybody that is new to this, or even if you're not new to this, start out, get yourself 2 or 3 sheets of paper that you don't care about and work on those. Put your color in. Don't worry about a background or anything else. Just get it really wet. Put your color in, move it around, see what it's going to do, and just get the feel for it.
Hmm.
And once you feel a little bit more comfortable, let it sit and dry, and then come back a few hours later, and it'll look totally different. So you'll be able to tell, okay, this is what I did, that's what I want to achieve, or it's what I do not want to achieve. And you'll feel a little bit more free about going into something that you care about.
So what is the size of the original piece?
Of this one,
Well, what's the largest that you have worked on?
the largest in watercolor, the largest I've worked on is 11 by 14, no, 12 by 16.
Okay.
No, 12 by 16? 16 by 20, sorry.
12 by 6. Okay, so I'm wondering, what do you think about, because like we have an upcoming workshop, which is going to be on this blue one behind me here. And again, it's using ample amounts of water. The paper gets really floppy and it's large as a half sheet. That's 15 by 22 inches. So
Mhm.
what I was wondering, have you pushed yourself up to a half sheet size painting yet?
Not, no. I'm actually, I
I
am
like that
actually
hesitation.
about to do that.
Okay.
It'll take a few weeks before I'm able to, but that's my next thing is doing it. Now, that being said, it's really important in my mind, in my opinion. I think the results are much better with a
I agree.
long vertical than it is with a horizontal. Horizontal works okay for acrylics, and I don't know. I prefer the look of the vertical.
No,
Um,
I prefer verticals myself. So I totally understand that and I agree with you. So let me ask you, is there anything else you'd like to add about this? So you had the sky in first and then you came in with the snow on the bottom. And how did you reserve your whites?
okay, what I did, as you can see with the yellow and the green one there, that's white on the bottom.
Hmm.
Okay, what I did was just leave a space there
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
just sort of to get an idea on what you want to do with it. Once the sky is done, it almost kind of speaks to you,
I
to
agree.
tell you, what you should do. If the area around the edge of the sky, like in that bottom of that green and yellow, if it's all messy and looks yucky, okay, there's going to be trees there.
Hmm.
Just again,
Exactly.
because you
Yeah.
want to cover it up. So you just sort of plan, okay, this is where I'm going to put my trees. You can carve out where you want your snow by your tree placement.
Hmm.
Um, and then what I've from our workshop that we did, Birgit, with the shadows on the snow.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's what I was looking for when I was doing the snow on this. So I just went over in very quickly with that. You can see some spots that look a little whiter.
Hmm.
What I've done with that is just touch it lightly while it's damp with Dr. Martin's the white, permanent white.
Hmm.
And on wet paper, Dr. Martin's permanent white gives a really soft, diffused look. It's beautiful for putting highlights on snow and trees and that type of thing. Um,
I haven't tried that. So that would be a good one to experiment with.
mhm.
I also
And
am curious, have you tried using an airbrush for any of your um because you were doing the airbrush with the acrylics. Have you tried that with like
I tried once and I got really frustrated, but it was before I knew really anything about watercolor. And I tried it and it just sunk into the paper because
That would
it's
happen because I have no idea. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm thinking, actually, I've been thinking about that quite a lot in the last couple of weeks, that it might be kind of fun to try watercolors or even inks for that matter, but watercolors would be kind of fun just to see how many layers it would take to build a believable color
Hmm. Hmm.
and to see if you could get a little bit more shape out of them if you wanted to. So that's on my bucket list, my to-do list. So I'm going to give it a shot and just see what it takes to do it on 300-pound paper. Because at the time I did it before, like I said, I knew nothing about watercolor. I didn't know anything about paper strength, and that's super important with this.
Well, because
Um,
like I know that I've used a little atom. Well, I cannot use an atomizer. I can't blow because I had the Bell's palsy years ago, and so I can't blow it out there. So I've used a little spray bottle before, and it just gets soaking wet. So that's what.
you need an airbrush gun, like a real airbrush.
Hmm. And so what I'm also curious about is how has your confidence grown since you've been doing all your painting and with watercolor?
I'd say by leaps and bounds.
Because it's a little
I'm
scary when you first start, right?
oh, I was terrified to do anything. Yeah, I don't know if I thought the paper was going to jump out and bite me or what, but it, yeah, it is scary. And anybody that's new, starting out on something new, and there's always a preconceived notions that watercolors are, oh my God, you're not going to do that, are you? Like it's so hard. But you know what? It's not. All you need is the right instructor and some patience.
And it takes a while. Like, it's so interesting, like um with like I was talking to Sue and I was saying to her, like, do you think that they want to know this? With not our thing that we're talking about, like, but when it comes to the atmospheric landscapes, because I said, it can kind of seem a little boring because we're working with a lot of water for a long time, building the layers up, because otherwise it's going to be very weak. We need to build that density up and then getting the landscape in there so it can seem like you're not doing a lot for a while and then it has to dry and then the magic happens in the last like 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the painting. So that's what's amazing. And what do you think was your breakthrough when it comes to watercolor?
I think that this course, I did it before,
Oh.
um, was probably my breakthrough as far as the water to color ratio is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of water to put on the paper, and the moving it around, uh, that is it's so cool. Like I said, the magic happens when you see those colors melding when you're moving that paper around. It's like, oh my God, it's exciting.
It's so
And
satisfying. It does feel like it's absolutely magic. And it is interesting because like all of these two would be like a flower petal. And it's so interesting when I was over there and oh gosh, Kenosha at the Transparent Watercolor Society. And Sue and Tammy were sitting there and they're watching how much water I'm using, which you are very comfortable with using that amount of water too. They're
mhm,
shocked, because people are not used to using that amount of water.
no, no.
I also wanted to ask you about this here. Let's find these. So tell me about, let me get this out of the way. Okay. So this I thought was a good one for people to see how wet your surface is
Yeah.
and the colors that you're using in here. Because if somebody's starting out and they do this, and if they don't have experience, they're going to go, I'm done. I'm not going to do anymore. But again, it's lifting and tilting the paper and moving it around so you don't get the feathering edges. Tell me about this one.
Okay, well, this one, the same, started out with my yellow, and I left a big enough space for the red. As you can see, sometimes the red will go into a brown shade, and you don't really want that. So you leave enough space for that. But the yellow goes in still really wet. The red goes in. I spray a little bit of water. I use my spray bottle a lot with these.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once I'm sort of comfortable with what that looks like, then I spray it again to make sure it's still good and wet and start dropping in the blue.
And
And
then,
I normally start at the top, two corners, and the middle.
so this was the one that, was this the one?
No, it was the middle one in on the side there.
It was this. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Because I was just trying to grab all the right pictures, which I didn't necessarily do in order, but I thought that one showed the perfect amount of water. Here we have again a large amount of water. You can see the glisten on the surface, and here you're reserving the whites. Well, not really reserving them. You have a lot of highlights in there, so that works beautifully, right? So is this one is different than the one we were just looking at, correct?
yes, yeah,
Okay. So and then we have that there, and then this is how it turned out. What a difference. My gosh.
yeah.
To see that and then building your color up, and that is indigo or what do you think about the indigo versus the indanthrone blue?
I like Indanthrone.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, but because it's got that little bit of a ready tone to it. It's nice. But I do still, if I want dark areas, I still would add a little bit of indigo into that.
Hmm.
Um, like you can see here that it looks like there's about three different shades of blue in there,
Yes, it's
but
beautiful.
it's just the way the water moved the color.
Let me get rid of that there, and so we get take a look at that. That is beautiful. This is an excellent transition through there. And then you had some nice texture down here. Did you happen to use the paper by any chance to get
I
that
did.
texture down there?
Uh,
And when I mention the paper, for those that don't know, what I'm talking about is that we're not always painting with a brush, and obviously, and some people use credit cards and things like this, but what I like to use is a little piece of paper, 300-pound paper, and we scrape it over the surface, and then you have this natural texture there. So you didn't really have to do anything. It just naturally created itself. The painting really painted itself there. And so you've done a beautiful, and I do love your little twigs down here. That's excellent. So let's see if there's anything else. I think
did
that,
we mention that the 300-pound cold press paper is crucial for this?
no, we didn't talk about that. Why don't you tell me about that?
Okay, I have tried it on two or three different types of paper, and I was not satisfied with it. It just didn't move the way the 300-pound cold pressed arches to me is that's what I use for almost everything.
Mhm.
Um, because it's vibrant, it holds tons of water. I'm like you have taught us that we don't need to tape paper down, and I've never have.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. Like even with these small sheets, I had so much water on those things, and I didn't even have to iron them.
Oh, you know what? That's a really good point too, because a lot of times people, if they're using 140-pound paper, it has a tendency to buckle and they will not get the results that they want. Everything looks a little flatter. It doesn't, I mean, you can use a block, you can practice on that, but to get the results that you're getting, the 300-pound paper is the best. And it's interesting, like when you said about the arches works beautifully for a richer color density, but like when it comes to the florals or things, it really depends what kind of mood you want to evoke. If I want something softer and create that, then I'm going to use a softer size surface.
Yeah.
But so that is incredible. And let's see if there's, I think, actually, I'm going to go to this here, I guess. Do I want to do that? Well, I hit the button, so I might as well. So this is our next coming 6-week course up here. This is the main homepage. I'll try to link that below too. And we have our big skies, which you don't even know about yet, Gloria. This is this is one that's coming up, a big skies and sunset. So that's coming up. And If you were going to try to um, suggest something to anybody, what would you suggest? What would be your advice for other artists?
Well, for one, this course, just were you putting that on there is to me that is if you're going to spend money on a course, especially if you're beginning, this is the one to do because as Birgit just said, it works for flowers as well as for landscapes. You don't necessarily have to put everything in one basket. It works for everything, and it gave me so much freedom and confidence to be able to move forward into my own um, images, my own style of painting, and it's yeah, this is really important. Um, but anybody going into watercolor, don't be afraid of it. It's just I think I've said before, it's like going for a walk and taking a different path. You'll like it or you won't like it. Nothing's, you don't have to make a big decision on it. It's just try it.
Well,
It
what also happens, people get nervous. It's hard to kind of get on that and just to force yourself to show up. So how do you show up for yourself when it comes to painting?
you know, one thing I have had to force myself to do, and I've done it twice now, and I'm going to keep doing it,
Okay.
is with workshops to actually paint during a workshop,
Oh,
not just
interesting.
watch.
Uh-huh.
I have to force myself to do that because I'm used to working alone and at my own pace, and I'm a planner.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have all my ducks in a row. And it's uncomfortable for me, but it's getting less uncomfortable. And the last one that we just did last week with the big skies, I had a blast. I really enjoyed it. I didn't get it finished, but that's okay.
Well,
Like I,
it's interesting too. Like when it comes to the workshops, it is like even if you just sit back and watch, that's great. But even if you don't do the subject and get your brushes wet and just kind of do a little fooling around, that like makes you show up for yourself and gets that creative juice going. I love what you're saying. And what's interesting too, as far as me creating those workshops, is trying to think about what I push everybody. It's like we are gonna get this done, but everybody can paint at their own pace. And trying to find, I like the combination between the 6 week courses and the 4 hour workshops, because that way I'm thinking, what can people manage within 4 hours? And then the 6 week courses allows you to post your paintings, and then we get feedback on, and there's a lot of growth that happens there. So let's see. Let's see. What are you excited to explore in your next painting journey?
well, I still plan to continue with this type of thing that I'm doing now and probably some more really big florals because I love that so much. But I'm thinking that it would be fun to do some more structural buildings and weirdly shaped rocks and logs and just trains, something different that I don't normally don't do.
Mhm.
And I have something in the works that I'm planning on. I'm hoping that it's going to work out for our local art gallery in 2027 in conjunction with a friend of mine who's a really super photographer. And she's going to do a bunch of photography for me with different items that I want to try to paint, and I'm going to paint them, and we'll do a show with her photography and my paintings of her photographs.
What's the name
So
of the gallery up there?
what's that?
The name of the gallery?
Oh, the one that I work with is Arts Underground is the name of it, and it's part of the Yukon Art Society.
Mhm.
There's two or three little galleries here in town, and that's the one that I work with most of the time.
Okay. And you know what's wonderful about doing like the online teaching or like our membership or things like that is that we actually, like, I would have never had the opportunity to meet you. And then, that's what I love about that. Plus, we have everything in our own studio. And I mean, I loved the traveling and meeting everybody and physically going on adventures, but I love hearing your story. And let's see, do you have anything that you'd like to say to any beginning artists?
Just get out there and have fun. Get your brush wet, get your paper wet, and just find something really cool. Like you don't even have to have a drawing. Just splash some paint on your paper and just play a little bit. I started out doing a lot of copying photos, and I a lot of my stuff I do trace. I use my light table. Don't be afraid of that. I know a lot of times you hear that you're not an artist if you don't draw everything that you do. I'm sorry, but a lot of us just don't draw.
Mhm.
It's just the way it is. I
It's
wish
a
I did,
different
but
time, it's like, y- you know, also when it comes to like using white or black, I mean, artists are doing that too. And that's very difficult for me to, uh, like, I just kind of cringe on all that. But I have to try to embrace that. I mean, it isn't what it used to be.
no, no, it's not. But if you get in there and just play, don't be afraid to paint over top of something that you've traced out. Just get in there and see what you can do. But I can guarantee you, if you take courses through Birgit, I call you my watercolor guru, uh, because the way you teach is so relaxing. It it sticks with you. It's not something that, oh Lord, I've got to keep all this stuff in my head. And no, you can keep. I go back and over and over and over so many of your courses. Every time I start something new, whether it's florals, landscapes, skies, whatever, I do it all the time, and it's such a valuable resource.
Oh,
Um, that would be my recommendation, my opinion.
thank you. I love that opinion. And, like when it comes to courses and anything, I'm always repeating. So, what I want to do is I'm going to show everybody your website again. So, if they'd like to get a hold of you, and I'll put it in the description, and then stick around with me for just a second, and then we'll go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. And let's go ahead, take a look at your website.
I just want to add one thing for getting in touch with me.
Oh,
Um, I do have a place for an email on my website,
okay.
but I also have a Facebook art page.
Okay, let's take a look here. I thought I had, maybe I don't have your Facebook here.
I sent it to you, I think, yesterday.
Okay, then I'm going to let me grab that. Oops, wrong one there. Wrong one. And okay, let me pull that up here. So tell them about your Facebook page.
Okay, it's just again Facebook, Gloria Andison art images, and I like to, if I'm selling anything, I like to do it directly rather than through my website, or I like people just to contact me, whether it's email or on my page, and we can discuss what it is that you're interested in. Or even just any questions about what I'm doing. I'm quite happy to answer anything that you come up with.
Okay, I think it is loading here. So tell me, do you do commissions also?
I do. I like to discuss it with the client first to find out what exactly they are interested in. Um, I like to keep a customer interested in, as I'm working on a painting that they have requested, pretty much every stage of the way, I will send um, a picture, photos, and so that they can see what they're doing. So they're part of the process the whole way. Um, we're both all on the same page.
That's a lot of work, honestly, to think about that. I don't do commissions. It's just so challenging to do that. And I'm really glad that you suggested taking a look at this here too, because it gives me an opportunity to share that again with like we've done in the members group, we get to see a lot of these paintings and again, how you deal with that background, that large empty space works so beautifully. Mingling color is exquisite. And then seeing more of your Northern Light paintings is fabulous over here. This is incredible. This one is stunning right through here. And let's take a peek at anything else. Let's go to this one here, since we're right on the subject of Northern Lights. That is stunning. That is brilliant. So did you use the permanent sap green or did you use a different color?
I used a tiny little bit of sap green, not very much. And most of that is just mixing with the yellows with the blues on the paper.
And so you don't use a quinacridone gold or anything on
No,
that. Uh-huh.
no.
Uh-huh. Well, this is gorgeous. This is really beautiful.
And you can lift the white spot spaces.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get some white spaces, you can lift with your number 30 very carefully, but and make sure that your paper is wet so that you're lifting so that you get a little bit of a lighter shade in there so that it looks like it's white.
Mm-hmm. Oops, let's take a look at this here. And if there's anything else on those, it's just really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. Okay, let's go ahead and I think we're pretty much done with that. Does that sound good? Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think that sounds pretty good. Oh, I'll show you that bag if that's
Oh,
okay.
fabulous. I'd love that. I'll get out of the way and then I think everybody knows how to get a hold of you now. And like I said, I'll put it in the description. And let's go
All
to,
right.
hold on, let me get you right here. There we go.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, let's see, I want to make sure that, so tell me about your bag.
Um, it's actually a lot nicer than I thought it was going to be. It's heavy, it's a great weight, but it's the images. What I'm impressed with is the way the images are on there. The color is dead true to the originals.
And where did you get that done?
I get them done at a printing company called Art of Wear in Montreal, Canada.
So that would be another thing that we might just mention really quickly too. So it was Art of Wear,
That's right. That's where my fabric is painted or printed as well.
Art of Wear in Canada. Okay. And then what about you had those puzzles, which I forgot to pop up.
Right. Yes.
So tell me about how your puzzles ended up doing this year.
They sold out.
Let's see. I just don't see my picture of what I had. I'll try to pop them up again. So
Okay.
tell me where you got those printed.
Okay, those I contacted a place in just outside of Victoria, BC, in Canada, and went with them. They were great at helping me design the cover on this. And for this year, it's what I did was start a collection called Yukon Memories,
Mm-hmm.
and I put a floral and Northern Lights, just to see how they would go.
Mm-hmm.
And they were popular. They sold right out.
Well,
So now I'm adding another different Northern Lights and a different floral for springtime. And
as
yeah,
a puzzle,
pardon me?
as a puzzle.
Yes,
Well, that's going to be exciting. And where do you sell that? You sell them personally, don't you?
yes, yeah.
And they
Yeah,
could,
I ship and all that stuff, but yeah, it just people just contact me and I mean I'm even with our group and everybody's we figured out a way of making it easy between the States and Canada. So yeah.
well, that would be great. And it's interesting because not too many people have that with, I don't even know anybody that would have that of the Northern Lights. And I think that that would be just so unique for somebody, and to get that from somebody up there at White Horse is just, a little special magic in there.
Aw, thank you. What a nice thing to say.
Thank you, Gloria. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Gloria. And then we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll be right back with you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And until